We are live.
All right, let's give folks a few minutes to get in here. I'm just going to wait till 7:02. Stephanie, thank you for the reminder of what month this is.
Breast cancer awareness. It wasn't a good filter, but
Yeah, but the pink matches your lips.
I like the monthly theme though. It's cool. Bit
Yeah.
of a
Yeah,
wood
definitely.
panel.
once we're
It's, a
back
wood,
in person, I don't know what to do.
it's always wood panel month at Borough Hall. I know we're really staunch
Cadenza.
observers.
Credenza, or whatever you call this thing, hutch thing.
Oh, that's nice.
I rearranged books in my library just because, but nobody could tell.
And for me, it's hide the guest room bed. Okay, well, let's get started. This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting via Zoom was faxed to the Home News Tribune and emailed to the Star Ledger and the Highland Park Planet on October 1st, 2021, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hpboro.com and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, on October 1st, 2021, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. As mayor, I preside over the council meeting and may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement or participation in the virtual meeting if the participant's statement does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided to each participant for public comment, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Councilwoman Kim Cho-han, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag
of
of
the
the United States of America
to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do any council members have any questions on the agenda for tonight?
You need roll call first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Borough Clerk. May we have a roll call?
Mayor Burr-Miltner,
Here.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Here.
Councilwoman Foster,
Here.
Councilman George,
Here,
Councilman Hale,
Here,
Councilmember Hirsch,
Here,
Councilwoman Kim Cho-han,
here.
Borough Attorney Schmier,
Here.
Borough Administrator Hover.
Here.
Okay, now, are there any council members who have questions on tonight's agenda? Oh,
Mayor,
Councilman Hale, I see your hand.
Mayor, I'd like to move that two of the items that are on the consent agenda, item 1021-252 and 1021-254, I'd like to table those or make a motion to table those. I need to do a little bit more work on those before we bring them ahead. So if I don't know, I'm assuming I can do that here, and I'd like to make that motion to table those off of the consent agenda.
Could you please read off those numbers again, please?
Absolutely. It's 1021-252 and 1021-254.
Okay. Clerk, do I need a motion to accept that?
You need a second, yes.
May I
second,
have a second?
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, then we'll move on. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session work meeting held August 3rd, 2021, and the special meeting held August 17th, 2021 as distributed.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Councilwoman-
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes,
Councilwoman Kim Cho Han?
Yes.
All right. It is now time for us to have our first public discussion session. Total time allotted is 21 minutes, 3 minutes maximum per speaker. Comments for this session are limited to items on the agenda. If you want to speak on an item that is not listed, please do so at the second public comment session later in the meeting. The Borough Clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give you a warning when there is 30 seconds remaining. There will be a hard stop at the 3-minute mark to make sure everyone has time to speak. And as a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement, or if he does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. So, I'm sorry, Borough
reports.
Administrator Hover.
Just wanted to let you know you did skip over the reports. I don't know if that was intentional or not, so I just thought I'd mention that to you.
Okay, I thank you
I think
for
it's on
that.
me. Is it after?
The public,
Not on
comment comes after. the
It's
report.
after on the agenda, Terry.
Oh, I
No,
apologize.
it's number set where council report
Which is
7,
number 7.
yeah. After approval of minutes, 6A.
Well, it's here on my agenda after
Oh.
the public.
All right, as long as you go back, I didn't know there was.
We will-
That's
we will
done
get to it.
different.
Okay, sorry, I apologize,
Okay.
Mayor. I just didn't know what was going on. Sorry.
Okay. We could get you a copy of my agendas too, so. As I mentioned, the Borough Clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give you a warning when there is 30 seconds remaining. There will be a hard stop at the 3-minute mark to make sure everyone has time to speak. And as a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. So if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing the *9 key on your phone keypad, or select the raise hand button in the application. The Borough Administrator will announce your turn by reading out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name, as well as your address. Again, if you would like to speak about a topic on the agenda, please press *9 or the raise hand button now.
All right, we have 2 hands raised, and just for the record, there are 11 attendees currently. It looks like first up is a phone number ending in 4445. If you could just state your name and address.
Hi, Lois Lebbing, 100 North Sewer Avenue, Highland Park. On agenda, just a little further down, 12B, talking about the purchase again of 23 South 3rd Avenue. Is that little house before the municipal parking lot that has the daycare, children's daycare in it?
No, it's the one on the other side of the municipal parking lot.
Okay, will the daycare be affected at all?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, the second one you just tabled, but I want to make a comment if I can on the 14I, I think it was Ordinance 252 for today about South 3rd and North 4th possibly. Just something to think about. How about North, 5th Avenue, the Asian, I know 5th is very, very busy, or more likely North 6th, which is a one-way in, one lane could be closed next to Sultan Walk, and the pizza parlor might share also in the tables on that side, and you might not get a discrimination suit by ignoring the Asian, the less favored restaurants. Just something to think about. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Okay, is there someone else?
Yes, there is. Next up is Carl Prey. State your name and address, please.
Hello, Mary Forsberg, 317 Dennison Street. I have a couple things to talk about. One is I think it's a really good idea to hold the landscaping for architecture on South 3rd, since you have no plan for that. I also agree that withholding the discussion about closing South 3rd and North 5th is a good idea, because quite frankly, I live very close to both of those places, and there's very little use of those places unless there is a music performance there. And it is extremely irritating for an awful lot of us who need to drive on those streets. I also am wondering why it is that you are spending nearly $500,000 on 24 South 3rd when there is no plan for South 3rd, and you have much more important things to do with the money that you have, which includes fixing the library roof, which the library has leaked in the 30+ years that we have lived in Highland Park, and the borough has never successfully fixed it. And it used to be funny when I'd walk in there and there are buckets collecting water all over the place, but now the library is closed indefinitely because of potential mold problems and wet books and all. I think that's a problem. Also, I'm curious about the environmental consulting firm that you're hiring and why you're hiring an environmental consulting firm. And I'm wondering if that is Attorney Bauman's law firm. I think that it may be. And my final question, actually I have a very big question. I'd like to know how much money you spent on the master plan and on the redevelopment plan in borough and planning fees. I think it must be a pretty extraordinary amount of money. And I'll probably file an Oprah on that to find that out. But I see at the very end, you are you're repealing cat licensing ordinance. And I'm very curious about that. Didn't realize we actually had a cat licensing ordinance. So that's all I have to say. And thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Terry, are there any other hands?
I do see one other. Looks like Peter Spool is up next. State your name and address, please.
Hi, this is Peter Spool at 146 Graham Street on the corner of South 2nd Avenue. So I too want to speak to one of the motions you tabled, which will clearly come up in some future meeting, the one about the temporary closure of South 3rd. I too have an issue with the way it disrupts traffic in town. I notice much more traffic on side streets as a result. I have to think very carefully when I want to plan a route, which I never had to do, when I want to get to some business or other cases, other locations on the north side, especially on the Raritan Avenue or adjoining streets because of the closures. I also don't notice very much activity at the table most of the time. And I wonder why it wouldn't just be easier and simpler to put some of those tables, ones that would be enough, on the sidewalks. And if you want a more permanent solution, to maybe extend the sidewalks, since those first blocks adjoining Raritan Avenue are much wider, that perhaps they don't have to be as wide if you don't allow cars to park on those streets. Furthermore, I think it makes more sense to have tables on North 4th, where there are many more businesses where you can buy foods or drink. On South 3rd, seems to me there's only one business where you can buy food or drink. So I don't know why it's necessary to have so many tables on that street. Also, I think having the street on South Third closed is actually a safety hazard. I'm now aware of several people who have been hit by cars, one of which at least was as a result just this past week of somebody turning left from North Third and didn't see her crossing the street. Hit her, she broke her hip, she needed a hip replacement. And I think people, because there isn't a car coming directly in the other direction from South Third, they turn because without looking as carefully because they don't have to worry about a car that'll cut them off. So that's a problem. So it's a mess up of
30
traffic.
seconds.
It's a mess up of traffic and it's a safety hazard to keep them the way they are. And I don't see why it has to be that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Chief Abrams, are you on this? Chief?
I'm here.
Okay. Sometime after this meeting, maybe sometime tomorrow, could you get us some information on the traffic accidents that Peter made reference to?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else, Terry?
I do see two more hands. It looks like Zev Strapinski is next. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Zev Strapinski. I'm living 512 South 3rd Avenue. Again, I would like to address the issue of closing 3rd and 4th. After last meeting, I spoke with the random residents of the South 3rd Avenue in around number 10 households. Majority of the people actually were not aware of the agenda of the closing street permanently. None single one of them expressed support for such a closure. I'm echoing everything that was said before. It's extremely irritating. Again, I am the one who is driving the street on a daily basis, back and forth to north side. As the people before me mentioned, there are lots of more traffic on the 2nd and 5th. It's very difficult to cross. It's a hazard. And again, the use of the tables on the 3rd is close to zero during the week. Every time that I need to do any maneuvers, it's becoming really, really difficult to maneuver between South and 3rd and the north part of the town. And my actually more kind of fundamental question, based on information that I obtained, that to me that initial premises to closing the street was to help businesses during the COVID pandemic to help them survive. And I fully support that. And I understand the Borough applied for the permit from the Department of Transportation and got such a permit. And that applied again for extension of such a permit. As far as I know, unless you correct me, this permit has been expired. My question, do you have currently legal base to continue closer 4th and 3rd? Is it yes or no? If it's no, I would like to see that street will be opened. Because to me, it's similar to situation like I'm the owner of the house. I didn't get the permit to start the construction of my basement without getting permit. If you do not have a permit to continue closing the street, it needs to be open immediately. And unless after that, whatever public decide on the public meetings and the voting, and I am for the entire town to vote for such a closure. And if the majority of people for, then let it be. But prior to such a decision was made, since the premise for the entire closure of the street is gone, the street must be open. And we
30 seconds.
And we can continue discussion about the plans, what should be and how we're gonna proceed. But again, if there is no such a permit, I am thinking, and it will be legal and right to open the street and continue discussion about the future of the development plan. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Zev. Okay, anybody else, Terry?
Do one more hand. Abby Stern Cardinal. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, this is Abby Stern Cardinal, 221 Harper Street. I missed the first couple of minutes of the meeting. I logged in right as public comment was starting, so I'm not sure why this is being tabled. I want to express strong support for the closures, especially at South Third and continuing there. I believe and hope I'm, preaching to the choir here, but because there were a couple of voices opposing it, I'd like to just express a couple of reasons why I'm in favor of the town tables. And I'll express why I am, and then I'd like to just share a little anecdote of something that happened during the yard sale. So first of all, as many of you know, I have 2 small children. We utilize those town tables many times a week. When somebody said that they weren't well utilized, I beg to differ. I think they're used quite a bit. For many people, the pandemic is over. For people with small children, it is not. These are essential for us to be able to gather, have a safe space to meet with other families. I met with another family with young kids, and my daughter was able to run around a little bit in that area, and I felt completely safe. Even beyond the pandemic, which, I hope obviously ends sooner rather than later, I want to see these continue. I think it's essential. There's lots of food that we can walk to and pick up in the area, lots of options. Unfortunately, Penstock was closed one day that I went, but there's so many other options that we were able to get food from, within a block. One little anecdote that I just want to share is I was walking around during the yard sales this past weekend, and I was minding my own business, but I overheard a conversation, people I don't know at all, and I wouldn't be able to track them down, but all I heard was them saying something about the town tables and saying that they are so happy it's their favorite part of the town. And I didn't want to interrupt, but it really resonated with me that they said the town tables were their favorite part of the town, and it's one of my favorites too, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. To be honest, it does pose a little bit of an inconvenience for me. I do have to drive a little bit differently, and I drive my daughter to daycare that's right there, or I walk when I can, and I can't go through. To
30
me, that doesn't
seconds.
matter. The benefits far outweigh the little bit of inconvenience. So I think little bits of inconvenience for us personally should be put aside for the greater good of the town and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, Borough Administrator, do we have any hands?
I do not see any other hands.
All right, then we're going to move on to our council reports. And so, as usual, I'm going to go in order of how you all appear on my screen. So, Tara, you're up first.
Thank you. October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. About 1 in 8 U.S. women and 1 in 1,000 U.S. men will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of their lifetime. And being proactive in this fight is very critical. So please make sure that you're doing self-exams and getting checked, including men. The Board of Health wants to remind everyone that COVID is still an issue, and please follow social distancing and get vaccinated if you can. Food insecurity, as always, is still very high, and the Highland Park Community Food Pantry is open the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month, 9 a.m. to 10:45 and 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and the Saturday following the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Donations can be made to the food pantry using their Amazon wish list. Highland Park Gives a Hoot Food Pantry is open every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Donations can be made by mailing a check to the Borough Hall with the memo that says it's for the Highland Park Gives a Hoot. We've seen a small increase in Gives a Hoot's clientele, so they are still very much needed. And the Mental Health Commission, as always, wants to remind everyone of the Middlesex County Crisis Hotlines. Rutgers University is 855-515-5700. Raritan Bay Medical Center hotline is 732-442-3794. Please reach out for help if you need it. Help is there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Hale, do you have a report?
I do, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank everyone from Main Street and Century 21 Real Estate, as well as Terry and the DWP and all the town folks who participated in our return of the townwide garage sale. It was a big success. A lot of really cool stuff out there. So it was great to see everybody out walking around again. So I thought that was very, very cool. This coming Sunday, October 10th, the Highland Park High School DECA program is working with local restaurants and Main Street Highland Park on an HP Sampler Food Fest. It's sort of a tasting menu event where students will be encouraging people to go to local restaurants to sample a variety of dishes. It's a pretty cheap date, although the samples are supposed to run between $3 and $6 a piece. And the DECA students are going to have a fast food menu with it. So if you're a restaurant, and there's still time to sign up, but if you would like to get that menu, you can email mainstreethighlandpark@gmail.com. One word, no caps, mainstreethighlandpark@gmail.com. I also wanted to remind everybody that Highland Park Restaurant Week is coming up October 23rd through the 31st. This is designed to show all the great restaurants we have here in Highland Park. Participating restaurants will be offering discounts, promotions for everyone that week. It's a great chance to eat out in a new restaurant every night in Highland Park that week. Again, if you're a restaurant that wants to participate or if you'd like some more information, you can also, again, email mainstreethighlandpark@gmail.com. Again, one word, no caps. And you can also check out the Main Street website. I also wanted to report on a couple really moving the ball forward meetings, kickoff meetings that we've had recently. The first one is with VO Rides, which is the Highland Park scooter provider. We gave them a tour of downtown with Rebecca and Javier from Main Street Highland Park to give them sort of the lay of the land. The next step is that they're going to be giving us their thoughts and ideas about where they think scooters might fit in best with Highland Park and in parking. We'll take a review of that, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to see some scooters starting around town fairly soon. I do want everybody to know that that as scooters are being introduced to Highland Park, it is an iterative process. So we have a sense and an idea of where the demand for scooters will be, but we will have data very shortly as the program gets started that will help us better position scooters and better position where they should go. So stay tuned for more to come on VO scooters. We also had another meeting with our parking and traffic consultant, Level G Associates. I wanted to thank both Jim Nichols and Rebecca Hirsch from Main Street for joining us at that as well. The first step is that Level G is collecting data on parking as it exists today. And we'll be having some discussions with local businesses about their hopes and dreams for parking. I thought it was a good, productive kickoff meeting with them. And I think, again, stay tuned for more to come on that. So lots of good things. If you can get out for Restaurant Week, if you can't, get out to all our businesses. It's really important we support them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Kim Cho-han, do you have a report?
No, I don't have a report. I just would like to also thank Main Street. I did sign up my first time for the garage sale. I thought it was really successful, especially the Sunday. A lot of out-of-towners really come and want our HP stuff. So I think it was great. So thanks for bringing it back.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Foster, do you have a report?
Yes, I do, Mayor. I just want to quickly say about I have someone that came into town the other day, and from another council member from another town here in Middlesex County. And I actually reached out to Terry because they wanted to know how we put our farmers market together and our town tables, because they think that's what's missing in their town, because they didn't have anywhere for people to gather during this pandemic, and the pandemic is still here. And they're looking for creative ways of how to get people together, because that's one of the biggest requests that they get in their community, is the way for people to go together, to eat outside, and to gather a little bit more, similar to what we had. So when he came to Highland Park, that was one of the first things he reached out to me and says, how did you guys do that? What a great idea, And I said, reach out to Main Street Highland Park. They'll give you some tips. With that said, I'll go to my council report. It's October, and we're looking at Trunk or Treat. Trunk or Treat will be the 27th of October. It's the third annual Trunk or Treat, and we're happy to bring this event back together. Anyone interested in decorating the trunks, reach out to Officer Amara. He'll be happy to get your details and happy to have you come and help and serve in any which way you can. The cars will be set up in our community center parking lot, and it will be starting at 4 p.m. until dusk. So come out, be safe. And then if you're interested in participating in decorating cars and being a part of Trunk or Treat, come on out. We're waiting for you. Reach out to Officer O'Mara. This past summer, we had the Youth Cadet Academy. And one of the things that was asked about is, would there be one for adults? We're happy to announce that we have spots for 20 applicants for the Highland Park Adult Academy. And that is going to start on November 8th. It starts every Monday and it goes through December 20th. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. starting Monday, November 8th, and it goes through Monday, December 20th, and that will be from 7 to 9 p.m. Anyone interested, please reach out to our police department. They will provide you all the necessary information. Again, Officer Mara, his number is 732-572-3800, extension 4262. Or you can email him at bomara@hpborough.com. His email is bomara@hpborough.com. So please reach out if you're interested in participating in one of these informative sessions. I think it'll be a tremendous value to many of our residents to be a part of this. You'll get to learn a lot about what the officers go through on a day-to-day basis and see how they do things and see why decisions are made and that kind of thing. I think it'll be of great benefit. Some of us council members did go on a tour with the officers and we get to see, but you'll have an opportunity to see as well. We are in need of crossing guards. So if anyone who's out there who's looking to work as a crossing guard, it's about 7.5 hours per week. It pays $19.36. If you are interested, please reach out to Officer Sergeant David Solden at Highland Park Police Department. His number is 732-572-3800, extension 4260. So his extension is 4260. His email is dsoden@hpborough.com. That's crossing guards that's needed. So please reach out. We really do need crossing guards. If you know of anyone who's interested, please forward this information on to them. It's fall again, as I said before, and I just want to remind people to utilize the sidewalks as much as possible. And be careful as you walk out, you walk in our streets, you're not walking the street because the hours are changing. As you can see, we have dusk coming much earlier than we did in the past. So we want to urge everyone to be safe, and safety is the priority. So please utilize the sidewalk as much as possible, because people are wearing dark clothing, they can't really see them. So safety. We are going to go into the fire season as well, fire emergency. So we're going to be asking people to change their fire alarm, change the batteries in their fire alarm, their radon detector, and overall, please pay great attention to keeping each and every one of us safe. Oh, I almost forgot. Please lock your cars. we tend to be super comfy in Highland Park, and we don't lock our cars. But as many of you may have seen on the news, that people are going around and they're breaking into cars, that has been a rise. And one of the things that people are taking out, unfortunately, from the school buses and from cars is the collaborator. They're taking that out of the car. So please, please, everyone be safe about your personal safety and the safety all around you, and lock your cars and change your radon detector batteries and change your fire alarm batteries, and just be safe. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Hirsch, do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor. Step one was finding the mute button. Thank you. Hey, everyone. I'm Matt Hirsch. I chair the Arts and Rec Committee. I just wanted to start off with a really exciting event. I just want to thank the Highland Park Arts Commission for putting together an amazing Highland Park window art tour, which is the centerpiece of the 8-week Highland Park window art walk, which showcases dozens of artists throughout the downtown. And if I may indulge, I'm going to do this. This is the tour on September 25th. Thanks to John Marin, the chair of the Highland Park Arts Commission, and the group for doing a full avenue tour from 60 Raritan Avenue all the way down to the Triangle, and to a little bit onto Woodbridge Avenue, as we showcase 22 retailers who were generous enough to provide window space to local artists. It really is an incredible event. The art is still up through November 5th, so please check it out. Here's Robert's Florals, here's my day. This is the Beamsdorfer Gallery. Here are the town tables. I do want to say that the town tables are always, are not always, but are well populated. I see them in use all the time. I mean, you know, and there are actually two eateries there. There's Penstock and there's Kitty, which, if you don't know, Kitty is open till 1 a.m. 5 days a week, and it is very busy. There's a demand, there really is. And it's like, you know, no public space is going to be fully occupied at all times. I mean, you go down to Donaldson at noon on a Wednesday, there's no one there. But the point of public space is the fact that it's available. And I really do think that the town tables do provide a real benefit to our downtown. But that's tangential. This is all part of the art walk. There's Penstock, there's John Marin, and he and the Arts Commission just did an amazing job putting all this together. There's me and my niece and my daughter and my nephew. Here's outside Berkeley Bake Shop. Here we go outside of the gym, and that's it. So I just wanted to. It really was an amazing event, and it really just did kind of highlight everything. You know, really encapsulated everything that our town has to offer, and all the magic and the wonderful things that happen here. And you know, really showcases the fact that, you know, it's really the people that make this town tick. And I will note that, walking, you know, start to finish on Raritan Avenue also showcases, you know, that our town needs the love that that we give to so many other things in town. So here, I'm going to move on. The Halloween costume parade, the recreation department is inviting us to our annual Halloween costume parade and festival, and it'll be held outside this year outside the Highland Park Community Center on October 24th from 1 to 4 p.m. and it's free for everyone. Stop by to enjoy music, snacks, and our bounce house. We look forward to seeing you there. The Veterans Day Parade, just mark your calendars. Obviously, it's on November 11th this year at 11 a.m. But please save the date and stay tuned for our annual Veterans Day Parade, which will be held as we walk from the Doughboy Monument to Monument Square in New Brunswick. And more details to come, but definitely save the date. It was a very pared down event last year. This year, it's going to resemble more how it did in recent years, and obviously it's outside. The Borough Elementary School is participating in the Walk to School Day on Wednesday, October 6th. This is where all Bartle families, strollers, bikes, and dogs are invited. You can join the principal, Mrs. Knapp, the staff, the Highland Park Police Department, and keep Middlesex moving to support the cause. It's at 7:30 a.m. We meet on Raritan Avenue at North 5th, which is at the Stop and Shop parking lot. And we leave for a fun walk to school. So if you are part of the Bartle family, as I am, please stay tuned for more information on that. I did just want to and I'm sorry, Joan, I know my minutes are up, but I did want to point to a few items on the consent agenda today that are very encouraging that the mayor will be addressing more in full later. Highland Park was awarded $750,000 from the state budget for track and field renovations, where we'll be partnering with the school district to make sure that we have the athletics facility that lives up to our expectations. And next, the state budget also earmarked a separate $250,000 to conduct a feasibility analysis of the Raritan River Trail Connector concept, which would connect Donaldson and Johnson Parks. This was an important infrastructure concept that was very important to Councilwoman Susan Welkowitz, and working with the mayor and the council and the sidewalk and cycling committee, we really look forward to exploring this idea further. The Highland Park Townwide Garage Sale, I don't have much to add. It was awesome. It's just it's such a good community event. We were out both days. We saw the garage bands, and it's just it's such a great community event. And we were able to offload a lot of stuff that was considered treasure to other people, and it's just really great job from Century 21, Main Street, Highland Park, and everybody who came together to put this together. The New Jersey's eviction moratorium is coming to a close, but there is help out there. Go to www.hpboro.com and click on the rental assistance circle. That'll take you to a website that will allow for landlords, you can help your tenants apply for the emergency rental assistance program that can help them pay a portion of their rent. And for renters, despite the end of the federal eviction moratorium, New Jersey households with income below 120% of our county's area median income are protected from eviction or removal at any time for non-payment of rent, habitual late payment of rent, or failure to accept a rent increase that accrued between the start of the pandemic, March 1st, 2020, through August 31st, 2021. Households with incomes below 80% area median income and other specific circumstances may be eligible for protection from eviction or removal through December 31st, 2021. Other assistance and services. Lastly, I did just want to, I made a comment at at our September 14th meeting that I want to apologize for. It was in regard to a letter submitted by Mark Liebeskind, and he submitted the letter for our attorney to read. And I made somewhat of a snarky comment after that. Of course, it's completely in his own right. Nobody asked me to make this apology, by the way. But as a former journalist who still carries that spirit of open, transparent government that should be available to all residents, it kind of it went against what I believe. People being able to speak at public meetings in any form should be open and welcome. So I did just want to apologize to him for that, and thank him for writing a thoughtful email in response. It's good democracy, and I just wanted to thank that. And that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Council President Phil George, do you have a report?
I do, Mayor. I'll try and be brief. It was a great yard sale. South Second ruled. We got a lot of stuff moved. We had a lot of people. Someone mentioned the people coming from all over. I had a guy pull up from Michigan who says he comes here for these sales because of things that he picks up. And he drove in specially from Michigan looking for some particular memorabilia. Of course, that leads us to the downside of the yard sale, but the upside of our bulk trash pickup, if you'll notice on the website, or if you notice that today on the north side or the triangle, your trash recycling has been canceled for this week so that we can attend to the bulk trash pickup. Number one, our fall event, and number two, we always try to do it after the townwide yard sale to help clean up. Thursday, we'll be working on the south side. Mike tells me that, if we don't get it all, we'll be out tomorrow, we'll be out Friday, just to let you know that. Also, with regard to cleanup, the borough's been putting more attention to trash removal, trash cleanup, and one of the most basic things of redevelopment is keep the town clean. Lately, we've known as we pick up after the pandemic and we have the outside tables, the success of the farmers market and and dining there, we've seen more trash. We had a meeting in administration with Main Street to discuss ways primarily along our two main, commercial thoroughfares on Woodbridge and Raritan, and also how Main Street we can help together on at the farmers market, which on Friday afternoons oftentimes needs cleanup and special attention. Tonight we'll be discussing in work session just very generally that we've completed work on the rough draft of the snow removal manual. We also have some suggestions from council members who were working on the Public Works Committee for future reference. Also, the Shade Tree Advisory Commission administration plan for plantings going forward to try and make a more streamlined and more efficient process. We'll be discussing those during the work session. I do note that during the last couple of storms we had with river flooding, the native plant sanctuary took quite a lot of damage. Most of the plantings, unfortunately, that we've been doing were washed away. The deer damage for the planted trees that were left is kind of bad this year, but our volunteers are putting it all back together. There were 2 cleanups from Rutgers Group and the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership that helped with the cleanup part, and the volunteers are putting it back together. Finally, with regard to the library, we're getting almost daily updates from Kate Jaggers, the executive director. Belfour has been in cleaning. They reported a fairly good report. Surprisingly, the water damage was fairly significant from Ida, and also actually worse from the September 16, 17 nor'easter that we had. But the damage, we were suspecting possibly mold damage in the sheetrock, but apparently it's become out successful, so we'll be putting out more on that as we go along. And thank you, Mayor. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Borough Administrator, do you have a report? Mute.
I never do that. So sorry about that. Just 2 quick reminders. I don't believe any of you mentioned it previously. I apologize if you did. We do have a flu clinic over at the community center on Thursday, October 7th from 10 to 12. The county's helping us with that and running it. They are requesting that participants fill in their consent forms in advance in order to process as many people as possible. If you go to hbborough.com, you scroll down to the calendar, you can find a link right to the form. I just did it earlier today. It took me 2 seconds. I'm sure if you have trouble on the technical side, they'll help you when you get down there. But most of us, if you can do it in advance, it'll help us accommodate as many people as possible. And just while I'm on that theme of health, I would just remind everybody, we do have our COVID testing 4 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, as well as on Sundays now. So if it's the turnarounds are very good and the feedback we're getting is very good. So I just want to remind folks of that resource, and it's open to anybody who needs it.
Thank you. Borough Attorney, do you have a report?
No report, Madam Mayor.
All right, so I just want to let everyone know that I received a call from Governor Murphy to tell me that Highland Park, as Councilman Hirsch mentioned, Highland Park was getting about $1 million worth of money from the state budget. First, we'll be receiving $750,000 for much needed upgrades to the recreational field complex behind the Highland Park High School between North 4th and North 5th Avenues. That area serves as the home for many of the borough's rec programs, as well as the high school's football, track and field and soccer teams. The area also serves local running and soccer clubs and members of the public who can be seen walking or running around the track almost any time of day. Also, the playground is used by many of our residents for their young children. Additionally, the turf field and the viewing stands have served as the site for numerous borough events in the past, and hopefully, once we're able to gather again safely, we will be using that area again for other borough events. The heavy use of the rec field complex over the years have left it worn and unsafe in areas. The track barely passed inspection in 2019, and the maintenance staff believes it will no longer pass inspection, putting at risk a broad array of the borough's programs, as well as a host of local fitness and recreation functions for residents. This state funding will enable us to upgrade the complex and fields, install LED lighting, and add ADA-friendly changes to the playground areas. These changes will benefit hundreds, if not thousands, of borough residents and visitors each year. We'll also be receiving $250,000 to develop a study of the River Trail connector that will serve as a bridge between Donaldson Park and Johnson Park eventually. Currently, there are no safe passages that enable residents and visitors to travel back and forth from the two heavily used county parks. The efforts to make this trail happen are the result of the hard work and dedication of former council member Susan Welkowitz, may she rest in peace. These funds will allow us to develop a 3/4 mile connector trail, which will include a section with boardwalk, a rest area, and river access, a pedestrian bridge to traverse a small ravine near South Adelaide Avenue and Valley Place, river access stairs by the intersection of River Road and Route 27, and upgrades to pedestrian crossings of Route 27. This project will offer enhanced fitness, recreation, sightseeing, and environmental activism options for our residents. I want to thank Borough Administrator Terry Hovair, who championed both projects and created narratives to clearly explain the impact of these projects, as well as thanks to our state senator, Patrick Dignan, and our state assemblyman, Robert Karavinchik and Sterling Stanley, who successfully advocated for them in the New Jersey State Legislature. As I've mentioned in the past, I've created a newly formed Mayor's Wellness Campaign / Vaccination Action Team. This team held their first really highly successful event, a vaccination clinic at the Highland Park High School football game last month. Spearheaded by the Board of Education member Chris Woodward and Rutgers professor Norma Bowe, this clinic resulted in 32 people receiving their vaccinations. The vaccination action team is led by Dr. Cliff Lacey and includes physicians, community leaders, clergy members, and others amongst its ranks. They are working on other vaccination clinics to be held in town at very well-populated events. So please stay tuned for more news about these. And finally, I'd like to thank Jeff and Joe and all the volunteers of the Southside Cleanup Team for the excellent work they are doing to help keep our community free of debris and garbage. We had an excellent meeting this afternoon with Joe, and I will be discussing ways the borough can begin to implement more secure trash containment in town with Council President Phil George and Administrator Terry Hovair. That's it. Okay, we're up now to our public participation 2. There's a total of 21 minutes, 3 minutes for each speaker, limited to items on this. I'm sorry, this is open to any item that someone
Mayor.
wants to discuss. Yes,
Mayor, Jen texted me that your public, the first public portion is listed on your agenda twice. The second one comes after the consent agenda. You already did the first public hearing, public participation.
yes, I know we did that. So we're not moving things around.
No, it was mistakenly put on your copy of the agenda twice when she made your annotated agenda.
All right, well, let's try to double check before you give me agendas to work with in the future.
We will try, Mayor. It was an honest mistake.
Okay, I understand. All right, in that case, we're going to go on to item number 12 on the agenda, correct, Joan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is a listing of ordinances requiring a second reading. Clerk, could you please report on advertising the accessible parking ordinance amendment for consideration of passage on final reading by title?
An ordinance amending on-street parking regulations for residences occupied by persons with disabilities was duly advertised for consideration of passage on final reading by title, and affidavits of publication are on file. The ordinance was posted and made available for public inspection as required by law.
Okay, may I have a motion to take up the ordinance on final reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any public hearing on this?
Just to clear up for the public, Mayor, if you don't mind, I saw one hand raised a while ago. So this is regarding the accessible parking ordinance amendment. So I do see one hand raised, just so you're clear, it's comments on the accessible parking ordinance amendment. Mary.
And only on that topic.
Yeah, I'm just saying that for the benefit of, it looks like Ray Board, your hand is raised. So again, please state your name and address. And if you're not looking to comment on this topic, you will have an opportunity to make a comment later on. Ray, are you interested in speaking?
Might be muted. No,
Yeah, but it's not on my end.
that's right.
Ray, are you interested in speaking on the accessible parking ordinance? All right.
No.
Why don't, I suspect it might have been a hand raised from earlier, so hopefully they'll raise their hand again when the time comes.
All right, then may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on final reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho Han?
Yeah.
All right, clerk, can you please report on advertising the ordinance for the purchase of 23 South Ferret Avenue for consideration of passage on final reading by title?
Ordinance of the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, authorizing the borough to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with David Tawil and Yehuda Tawil to acquire block 3001, lot 7 on the tax map of the Borough of Highland Park, was duly advertised for consideration of passage on final reading by title, and affidavits of publication are on file. The ordinance was posted and made available for public inspection as required by law.
Okay, may I have a motion to take up the ordinance on final reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any public hearing on this?
I do see a hand there.
Okay,
Dan Stern Cardinal.
Hi, Dan Stern Cardinal, 221 Harper Street. Just want to say thank you for doing this. I appreciate moving this forward so fast, showing the commitment to the South Third Pedestrian Plaza. So thank you. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
okay, thank you, Dan. Any other public comment?
I don't Okay, wait, there we go. I thought I saw a hand and then it went away and now I see a hand again. Sorry, I was a little confusing there. Looks like Alvin Chin is up next. Please state your name and address for the record. Alvin, are you there? You. Alvin, it's your turn if you'd like to state your name and address. I'll come back to him because I do see another hand, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We'll come back. Looks like Carl Prey. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Forsberg, 317 Dennison Street. I'd like to know why you're buying this property. What is the point of this? This is $500,000 on a property that you have no real purpose for. You have not closed the street. You have a parking lot right next to it. Are you going to move Main Street there? Are you going to make it into, you're going to knock down the house and make another parking lot? I'd like to know why you're buying it.
Okay.
Answer the question.
We clearly have plans that we would like to pursue for public spaces, and this is an opportunity for us to make something good happen for our residents. And Councilman Hale, did you have your hand up?
I did. I just wanted to reiterate that the purchase of this property allows for a lot of potential uses on our existing lot on South Third and with the new property. I think it gives us a great deal of flexibility for the future.
Thank you.
I find that hard to believe.
Are there any other hands up?
It wasn't an answer.
Right.
Terry, are there any other?
I'm
hands?
sorry, Mayor, I got distracted. I see Mr. Chin's hand. I'm just gonna give him one more shot. Hold on a second. Hands are flapping around on me this afternoon. I apologize. Alvin Chin, could you try again? State your name and address for the record. You may have to unmute on your end. And try it on my end. Alvin, I can see your hands raised. I've allowed you to speak. Maybe just check your settings, make sure you're not muted. One more try, Alvin. All right, I'm afraid it looks like there's an issue on his end, Mayor.
Okay. I can't wait till we get back in person. Okay.
Sorry about that. I just don't know what's going on there.
Okay, so Alvin, if you would like to, we're going to have to vote on this without hearing what you have to say if you can't work out that.
Let me try one more time. I lowered his hand and he popped it back up. So let me just give it one more shot. Alvin?
I'm trying. Does this work now?
It's a little gravelly, but give it a shot.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
All right.
I live on South Third, about 50 yards from this real estate deal, and I have to say that although it's not clear what's going to happen, that residents on this block are prepared to hear what the borough has to say, and we're prepared to either to support or to oppose like what's going to happen, but we're keeping an open mind. So we don't, well, excuse me, let me take that back. I, speaking for my household, don't see the problem with the borough acquiring this property, especially if it opens the potential for activating a public space on South Third and possibly connecting it to even to South 4th through the Rite Aid parking lot. So I hope that the borough will be very careful and very conscientious about the future development plans for this area. And also, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties.
That's fine, Alvin. Thank you very much for your comments.
Mhm.
Okay, Terry, are there any other hands?
No, Mayor.
Okay, given that, may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on final reading by title?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Again, I would like to reiterate that I had a fellow council member from another town that wanted to get our plans to see how they can open up space in their town so they can have a space for their community. This town is similar to ours. They have small spaces and they want to attract people coming out and utilizing the downtown. And they think that it's a great idea. I also think it's a great idea. And with that, I say yes.
Councilman George?
This shows that when the municipality's got some skin in the game, things really start to move. We've had redevelopment plans. We wanted to do things and they didn't. But when the town says we're going to do it and they get serious and they get real, it gets done. It's really happening. I'm looking forward to it. I vote yes.
Councilman Hale?
I vote yes as well. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho Han?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, could you please report on advertising the capital ordinance, providing for the installation of emergency radio console and portable radios for consideration of passage on final reading by title?
Capital ordinance providing for purchase and installation of emergency radio consoles and portable radios, appropriating $250,000, authorized in and by the Borough of Highland Park, has been duly advertised for consideration of passage on final reading by title, and affidavits of publication are on file. The ordinance was posted and made available for public inspection as required by law.
Okay. May I have a motion to take up the ordinance on final reading by title?
Motion.
Second.
Any public hearing?
It's a reminder to raise your hand if you're interested in commenting on this ordinance. But we have currently 14 attendees and I do not see any hands raised here.
All right. Then may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on final reading by title?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes, this is an ordinance that is going to make our entire public safety team be able to communicate much better. We have been in need for these for many, many years, and we finally had an opportunity to make this happen so communication can be much better between the entire public safety team when there is any kind of an emergency. So it's long overdue, and with that I say yes, and thank you all.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho Han?
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda items. May I have a motion to adopt items 14A through 14H and 14J, and then 14L through 14N.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho Han?
Yes.
All right, we're now moving into our second public participation session. And each speaker shall have 3 minutes, but may comment on any topic. The borough clerk will monitor the time and will offer a 30-second warning and then indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. The session will wrap up by 9 p.m. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone keypad or select the raise hand button on the application. The Borough Administrator will announce your turn by reading out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name, as well as your address. Again, if you'd like to speak about a topic, any topic, please press *9 or the raise hand button now.
All right, we have 13 attendees at this point, and the first hand I see raised is phone number ending in 4445. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Lois Webbing again, 100 North Sewer, SEWER Avenue in Highland Park. Someone just mentioned opening up the Rite Aid parking lot. How come nobody remembers it was open from South 3rd to South 4th? Maybe in the 80s it was closed, must have been, because it became a racetrack. So unless you're going to put a whole lot of street humps in there, it was open. It is hilarious what you people forget. Okay, I asked last month how many buildings in the borough were flooded. So now I'm going to ask how many were flooded and how many of those had only sewage like North Sewer Avenue here near Denison. As many people are taking the toilets out of the basement. It's your incompetence not cleaning with the jet vac. This is what happened in the 70s. And then in the 80s, we got the sewage, and all of a sudden it was contracted out to clean the sewer main. And it was explained to us. And then you got a truck, which sits idle most of the time because you are short on men working there. And it was explained that the problem was that the storm drains on the gutter side were overcharged, surcharged, overfilled, and it would go into the sewer main, and you had it lined, charged us for lining, charged us for new manhole covers, I mean the whole borough, all the taxpayers, that would solve the solution. It would never leach into the sanitary system, which of course is what just happened. It was, we don't have a sump pump. We don't need a sump pump. We didn't need one through Floyd and Irene and whoever else was here since 1989. But because of lack of maintenance, we have had flood and lost many, many items that's gone into the landfill that shouldn't have, and it has raised our taxes. So I guess I ask again, how many buildings total in the borough were flooded in general, including the library, and other commercial areas on the avenue, and how many have just sewers? That's question number 1. Borough put a Goodyear super duper rubber roof on the flat roof on the public safety building sometime, I think in the 90s. Frank Reff used to talk about it. So was that put on the library? Why not? Why not in 1992 when the library was doubled in size? Why didn't you put a peaked roof? Okay, you don't care. Redevelopment,
None of us was here in
1951.
1992.
Redevelopment, Highland Park bought lots
We
of
do care.
properties, the Highland Park Agency, and they sold the properties for $1 or less to the developers. Will you be doing that, or will you be selling the borough properties for fair market value? And, earlier this year, the borough administrator and planner were seen up behind the gun shop. Were you counting trees, or what were you doing? Any answers?
So Lois,
you.
you packed about 10 different questions and 20 different accusations in your statement.
Not quite.
Okay. It's difficult to respond to every one of them when you keep running on and on. I'm sure we'd be happy to answer 1 or 2 of your questions now and get to the rest of them at another time. I love that black albino. Excuse me? Anyway, Lois, do you have 1 or 2 questions that you need answered right
Sure.
now?
Okay, 2 questions. Last month I asked about how many buildings were flooded. So can you tell us how many were flooded in the borough and how many of those were sewage, different than groundwater? And then the second question is, will you be selling all these properties that you're buying, as an example, the one tonight? Will you be selling it to the developers in other areas for fair market value?
So I'm going to ask the borough administrator if we have a list of the buildings that we were talking about. I can think of 2 buildings that were flooded. Are there others that I'm
Oh,
not?
well, I guess I wasn't sure if Lois was referring to borough properties versus townwide. I guess I assumed it was townwide. The best data I have, and I was able to pull up while we were talking, because I requested the information on individual assistance from FEMA, because that's probably my best indicator. We did do a solicitation of residents to let us know if they've been flooded, because we wanted to provide that information to FEMA. But as of 9/30/21, they had 218 households register for their individual assistance program. Now, that's not a gauge of whether or not they're all eligible. It just gives us a sense for, these are people who felt they sustained damage of some sort and were requesting some assistance. And they went out, and I guess they at least issued 173 inspections out of that list as of that date. So that gives us an overall reading. I don't have an answer in front of me with respect to stormwater versus sewage, but I will follow up on that question. I think it's a good one.
And Lois,
Thank
just
you.
so you know, that I'm aware of 2 residents that could not go back to their houses, 2 families that could not go back to their houses immediately after either. So that's in terms of the flooding, those are the
In terms
2
of severity, that would be a good way. Yeah.
And what was the
And fair
second?
market value? Fair market value on the properties that you're purchasing, like Bergen Auto and maybe the gun shop, or maybe not. And
Okay,
farm market.
so we don't know exactly how much money we're going to be asking for any of these properties right now, but it's not as if we're going to be giving them away to the developers.
Thank you.
Should I move on, Mayor?
Okay.
Yeah, and if there are any other questions you want some answers to, you know how to get a hold of us during the week too.
Next, I have Carl Prey. State your name and address, please. You have to unmute yourself. Carl Prey. Alrighty.
Is there anybody else?
Yes, there are. So we can go. I see 2 more hands. Abby Stern Cardinal. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, this is Abby Stern Cardinal. I live on Harper Street. I have a question about the Donaldson Park Playground. I understand that it's a county park, and I saw the message that Mayor, you put out about that. I'm wondering what input Highland Park and our residents have in kind of the rebuilding, and if there's any way that we can get some input into kind of what kind of modern playground facility, can be put in. Will it be something that, you guys will have any input into, and also what the time frame is? Have they provided any time frame for when we could potentially get our kids back playing in that area?
Yeah.
That would be great.
So yes, and you should know that any resident, and there are several residents who've written to me with things they would love to see in the park. I forward all of those emails to Rick Lear and we talk about them. Not everything is going to be feasible because it is in a floodplain. And so as they start working on these plans, they need to be very conscious of the fact that any equipment that's going to go there is going to have to withstand future flooding. So as far as the timeline is concerned, I believe in the email that he sent me, and I cut and pasted into the Facebook posting I made, nothing's happening in 2021, and we're hoping we'll see something by the end of 2022.
Wow.
All right.
Mayor, I'm sorry, we're expecting the improvements to be completed in Donaldson by the end of 2022.
Well, hopefully, what I can tell you is nothing's happening in 2021, and they have to go out to bid, the whole process for government. They have to do the research. I believe things will certainly start in 2022. I am hopeful that they'll be complete, but I don't know.
Thank you.
All right, I still see a couple hands. I'm gonna try Carl Pray one more time.
Is her hand still up?
It was, so Carl Pray and or Mary Forsberg, are you trying to raise your hand? And if so, please unmute yourself. Okey doke. All right, it looks like we have another hand, and it would be Daniel Stern Cardinal. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Dan Stern Cardinal, 221 Harper Street. I just wanted to comment, just kind of broadly speaking, in favor of the multiple efforts across multiple fronts in terms of redevelopment and in particular cleaning up the downtown. It's very often the case that whenever there's concerted efforts like this, the loudest voices that you hear are people opposing it, but that generally is not representative of the general feeling when it's going on. There's actually a really interesting book on this very phenomenon called Neighborhood Defenders, which I recommend everybody reads. But I want everyone here to know that most people are in favor of doing something about the vacant storefronts in the downtown and the parking lots that involve cars driving over the sidewalk where it should be a pedestrian zone. So I'm in favor of this. A lot of people, obviously, this is a very pedestrian and cyclist oriented town. And the vast majority of people want to see stuff done with this and are, in favor of efforts to clean up the areas where there's parking lots or there's vacant storefronts to, make the downtown more vibrant, more attractive, and to kind of start that positive feedback loop of getting more pedestrians, more businesses, and more residents into the downtown. So thank you for all your efforts and the obvious diligence and thought that people are putting into it. I hope it keeps going. And like I said earlier, I'm really excited to see what we get done in the next few years. Thank you.
Me too, Dan. Okay.
Mayor, I see Carl Pray's hand up one last time. Would you like me to try? See if we
Try it and then we'll.
All of our technical difficulties here. Carl Pray or Mary Forsberg, are you there?
Okay.
There she is. Okay.
Sorry about that. I actually, Dan Stern Cardinal kind of like inspired me to speak again, because I don't think that the people who are opposing this, I think that we are the silent majority. I think there are a few very loud people who think that this is a really great project. There are many people I know in Highland Park who have lived here for a long time who would rather have the town spend its money on the library and not buying property and actually keeping the property that it owns clean. If you look at, my husband and I went to New England this fall or this summer. And there are a lot of really nice things that are done in small towns in New England. Like they take used abandoned garages and turn them into taco margarita restaurants, or they turn them into flower shops. They don't, Highland Park owns Bergen Auto, and it is a disgusting piece of property. Can't you paint it or do something to make it look decent? You're not, the people that privately own these properties let them all fall to ruin, but you let them fall to ruin too. And Highland Park has a history of this. I live on Denison Street, and Highland Park owned property on Denison Street that it bought and let fall to ruin, and now it is part of your redevelopment plan. Highland Park needs to figure out how to actually create an attractive small town, which it is not seeming to be able to do. When you look at Denver and when you look at Memphis and you look at Delray Beach, They are not indicative of what Highland Park's future should be. Try looking at Mystic, Connecticut. Try looking at nice little towns on Long Island. Try looking in New Hampshire. You are not coming up with a redevelopment plan that is attractive or will be something that will be a nice thing for the future of Highland Park. And buying that property on South 3rd and closing off the streets, those closing off streets has never been successful in most towns. It's sort of semi-successful in Somerville because there are restaurants and stores
30
lining those
seconds.
streets. That's not true in Highland Park. I think your whole thought process of redevelopment is flawed, and I think you really need to rethink it. But I've said this all before. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, any other hands?
I do see Zev Strapinski. Please state your name and address for the record.
Zev Strapinski, 512 South 3rd Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey. I would like to address to those people who saying that they're living 50 yards close and no. So I personally spoke to people on my block personally. I spoke to each one of them on my block, on the next block too. I asked them what their opinion and how they're thinking about that. They're directly affecting by that. I spoke to people who live on Dunstan Avenue personally, asked what they're thinking about that. None of the person that I spoke with expressed support. It's not that we're just opposing for the sake of opposing. We too, as everybody else interested in a town to develop a nice and to be attractive and to be welcoming place. We are not opposing development. We're just saying that there are other avenues besides closing the street. There's other things. We're not opposing entire development plan at all. Only concern that I'm personally raising, and I'm probably addressing other people, that the closing of the street should be fine. We saying that should be find other avenues, meaning other approaches to find the public spaces in order to use and to people who can gather. That's only what we're opposing. It's not because we're opposing because it was the loudest one. Not at all. And I think the minority of people either not aware. Again, I made an effort and I speak with the people directly who living there. I'm living in a town for 20 years. And I spoke with people who are living here for 40 years and 50 years and anything in between. And not a single one of them told me that I'm in favor of closing the 3rd Avenue or 4th Avenue. That's all I'm saying. We are for development and beautifying the town, make it a nicer place. It's not at all that I'm opposing for the sake of opposing. That's all I'm trying to convey. Thank you.
Zev. Borough Attorney, you had your hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you close the session for the second public comment, I just wanted to indicate that the clerk's office this afternoon received a message from a member of the public. And there's a request that this message be read into the record. So with your permission, Madam Mayor, I would just like to read this message that came in this afternoon.
Okay.
Dear Honorable Mayor and members of the Municipal Council, according to the borough's procedures and requirements for the conduct of a remote public meeting during the declared public health emergency and/or state of emergency, the public is permitted to submit comments electronically, and such comments shall be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting in a manner audible to all meeting participants and to the public, consistent with NJAC 5:39-1 et sec. This email asks questions and makes comments about the resolution number 10-21-252, resolution authorizing continuation of temporary street closures to support restaurants and businesses during COVID-19 health emergency. At the outset, there is no COVID-19 health emergency. June 4, 2021, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order 244, declaring the end of the emergency. All indoor restrictions on indoor dining have been lifted. since then. So there's no valid reason to continue street closures. Sidewalks and the private properties of the restaurants and the businesses can be used instead pursuant to PL 2021, Chapter 15. Second, the current closures are illegal. This is evidenced by the very resolution itself, which asks the DOT to retroactively approve street closures from September 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021. Through the Oprah request is made to NJDOT and the Borough of Highland Park, there appears to be no approvals issued by DOT beyond May 31, 2021 for the street closures. Third, even if approved, you cannot continue these closures in their present configuration past October 31, 2021. PL 2021, Chapter 15 does not permit the use of the first 100 feet of the roadway from November 1 through March 31, 2022, toward dining. Even if approved by the DOT, these areas will have to be reconfigured to conform to the statute, leaving the first 100 feet unoccupied. Number 8, nothing in this act permits the use of state-owned right-of-way for the purpose of outdoor dining. Permits for the use of the state right-of-way will be issued upon application and approval of the New Jersey Department of Transportation. For the purpose of the locally owned roads that intersect with state highways, and setbacks from the state right-of-way will be 50 feet from April 1 to October 31 and 100 feet between November 1 and March 31. Fourth, you cannot close the street by resolution. It must be done by ordinance. See NJSA 40:67-16.9. Lastly, in the resolution you state, whereas the New Jersey Department of Transportation agrees to continue with the revised work order for the traffic signal along Route 27, Raritan Avenue, at the intersection of 3rd Avenue to match the proposed for the temporary closure of South 3rd Avenue. Who specifically agreed to this and when and in what manner? Thank you, Mark Liebskein. That's the message, Madam Mayor.
All right. Well, as you know, we tabled the resolutions that he was referring to before the letter was read. Okay. I think we're about to go into the work session.
There's 2 more hands.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, Mayor. One has spoken previously, one has not. Do you care what order I go?
well, is this an unlimited time
Until
session?
9 p.m., 3 minutes each, though.
Okay.
So should I just go?
So I would do the person who has not spoken yet.
Okay. Looks like Diane Ray is up next. If you'd like to state your name and address, please. Diane, you might need to unmute on your end. Diane. All right, why don't I go to the next person and I'll try her back one more try before we close. It looks like it might be Lois Lebbing again, phone number 4445. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Lois Lebbing. Lois Lebbing, North 2nd Avenue, again. Okay, so someone told me to call Emma, the Borough Administrator's Assistant, Emma Missy Von Tun, which I did. And they were asking if we had flooding or the residents had flooding or sewage. How many people called in that line and reported flooding? And just as a PS, as you're going great guns ahead with redevelopment, you have had installed at least very close to 2,000 water closets, sinks, laundries. When I count the castle having just 1 bathroom, the kitchen, the toilet, the shower, the laundry, and Pulte 1, Pulte 2, Heritage, and then Highland Cliffs, you have 1,948, just if there's one bathroom, one shower, and some of these I'm sure have two. So you have inundated an antiquated system. Tell me, please, that you're going to Roto-Rooter, which apparently it doesn't need, but it really does need, these storm, not just the drains and the grates, but the length to the river. If anybody who knows that a sink doesn't clog the very next day, unless you pour grease or something ridiculous or a child's toy, a kitchen sink, a laundry sink, it clogs very slowly. It's like plugging an artery in your too much beef or something, or too much meat. It clogs very slowly. So we don't know if these lines at North Second area are plugged, I don't know, yards and yards, blocks away, and they're all the branches and all the leaves have plugged up, and it's open a little bit. And until you start cleaning those, then maybe we can get sanitary sewer that actually works. So is there an answer, going back to my first question, is there an answer on how many people were aware to call in the borough administrator's assistant with the number of flooded homes? Thank you.
Mayor, I could answer that.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number, the final number, but I know we were over 100 residents. So at least half, hopefully both, they responded to us, but also we know additionally they would have submitted directly to FEMA as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Terry?
All right, I don't see any other hands raised.
All right, then I'm going to ask the council if they would like a 5-minute recess before we go into work session. Can I see a show of shaking heads?
I would.
You would, okay. All right, then we'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll meet back here at 8:42.
I feel like I should say something. I'm the only one here.
I just leave
I'm
my
still
screen
here,
on,
Matt.
so if someone
Okay.
comes here, they know we're still here. It's just we're taking a break.
Right, right.
Because if everybody
still-
screams done it.
You're still here?
I'm still here. I'm just off camera because I'm also talking to my son.
Nice. So Jared, we said hi.
Matt said hi.
Hey.
I like didn't know if I should correct the mayor or not, but being a proud Kane alumni, Norma Bowe is a professor at Kane University, not Rutgers.
Definitely worth a correction. Absolutely.
Nothing against Rutgers, but you know, gotta support the Cougars.
The campus there has really come a long way too.
It's beautiful campus. I loved it there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing. Like the whole Route 28 corridor there is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was cool on that art walk. I mean, we walked the whole, we walk downtown all the time, but to do it slowly and deliberately and looking at the properties, just puts things into a whole different light. Especially in context with with redevelopment. There's some amazing stuff going on downtown, but a lot of the buildings just are in not good shape or non-existent. It really puts it into sharp relief. And Highland Park is hamstrung by the design of our downtown, the single corridor, and also parking requirements. And we have to find ways to work around that and be innovative in order to get, property owners and also, parcels built in a way that fits the context of the downtown and meets expectations. And that there's just so much energy. There's so much energy in the downtown in order to do something really, really great. And it's, I think the feedback is really, really important.
My husband and I love having date nights, just sitting on a bench down on Raritan and just people watching and, just enjoying the time. It's a great, cheap date.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not kidding about Kitty also. I mean, 5 days a week, 1 a.m. And I'm known for taking late night, strolls after late night meetings. And it's active. It's real. I mean, there's so much life downtown, so much life. And I think, having the built spaces that will accommodate it will just make it even better. And will help Highland Park kind of live up to the things that a lot of folks expect of Highland Park.
Now that we have the grandbaby, we walk downtown a lot more, even than we did before.
That's awesome. How is the grandbaby?
No.
How's everything going with the new addition?
Good. I had a very good friend and mentor give me the best present ever, because he was not sleeping after he would get up. It would take like over an hour to get him back to sleep. And I got a night light that plays different sounds. And now, when he's not sick, I would feed him, burp him, change him, and he'd fall right to sleep. So it was the best present ever.
Those sound machines are wonders.
Yes. It's amazing. And the red with the babbling brook is the best sound.
I love those. They're very soothing for all
Yes.
ages.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe we need to have our own next to us at night.
How about piped into the
He
downtown?
sleeps in my bedroom, so it is right next to, he's in the bassinet right next to me, so I get to listen to it, so it helps me too.
That's good.
Soothing sounds, babbling brook,
The ocean
distant
one is
train.
good too.
We already get all the soothing sound. We have babbling river, distant train,
right.
Boyd Park in the distance.
Yes.
Rainforest is a good one too.
Rainforest. You have all the sounds of nature.
I do enjoy the sounds of the train going into the train station in New Brunswick at night. Okay,
Totally.
let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 council members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Is our borough attorney back? Not yet.
Not yet. Can I just, since we're still on break, I live right near South Third also, and I drive, my kid to daycare every day. Used to cut across on South Third and now come around. And I mean, we deal with all of the hardships that are going on right now. PSE and Gville is no fun on the South Side. It's just not,
How am I getting to the office today?
It's not a good time. And, it's like, so we're not, there's no one pretending up here that, we enjoy any of those kind of hardships traversing, but it's just, it'll get better. I took one for the team. I got a flat tire on Benner this week. Yeah. And
thanks for keeping it to yourself, man.
But now it's great. But now Benner and Volker are nice and smooth.
I remember speaking about a flat tire at a council meeting as a citizen.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
There he
Our
is.
newest council member.
Oh, wow.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
He got his shots today, so he was very good.
Oh. All right, well, why don't we go on and the borough attorney can join us when he gets back from recess. All right, we're going to go on to our work session items. There will be no formal action taken on these items. So first, repeal of the cat licensing ordinance. Tara, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, we have a cat license ordinance that, as was mentioned earlier, not many people know about. I know I've lived in town 13 years and have 2 cats and never knew they were supposed to be licensed. However, it cost us more money than we make because you have to order a certain amount of licenses and people are not applying for them. So we're losing money. The Board of Health, talked about it. They don't see a need for the cats to be licensed. They feel that we should not have that requirement. So I'm just coming to you to see if we could have that part taken out of our ordinance.
Do we know why it was initially put into the ordinance?
I have no idea. I'm thinking somebody in the long ago past thought it would make money for us, but it's actually been costing us more money.
Any other?
Mayor, I believe that.
Go ahead, Elsie.
Oops, how do I get this thing off me? Sorry,
What?
I want to unraise my hand.
Oh.
No, I really raised my hand. We had a problem with an overpopulation of cats running around before, and it was one of the ways how to curb the cat population was to have people register their cats so when animal control comes in, that the cats could be sent back to the person that owned the animal. So that's why that was put in place. It wasn't to make money. It wasn't a money situation. It was for the protection of the animals, that if people lost their animals, they could find a way of relocating them back with their owners or reuniting them back with their owners. Instead of just taking them to, when we used to use the New Brunswick pound, we used to take them there and then they'd had to do what they felt best at the time to control that population. So that's why that was put in place.
Councilman Hale, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I didn't know we ever had a cat problem. So do we have a cat problem now? I mean, it seems to me that if we're losing money on, my understanding is we have to buy a certain number of bulk licenses.
Right.
Yes.
And those bulk licenses, we don't sell enough to cover the cost of the bulk licenses. So every time that we do this, we lose money. Is that my understanding?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, as we all know, things change. And if there, as you said, Councilmember Hale, you don't see a problem. So if we're not seeing a problem, and if you went to the animal control and they're saying that Highland Park doesn't have a problem and we're not reporting missing animals and that kind of thing, then I think that's something to be explored. At the time when it was put in place, there was a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm not
Karen,
gonna-
you said you discussed this with the Board of Health, right?
Yes, and they voted to eliminate that part of the ordinance. And don't get me wrong, we do still have missing cats and dogs in town. But we also have a community that has a lot of rescues now that we didn't have in the past that are helping people find. And if they're not being registered anyway, it's not going to help, even if they are, found by somebody other than a resident who's looking for them for other people, for people who have missing animals.
My mayor, can I speak?
Yes.
My thing is, like you said, no one knew. So I think we need to put that out there. You must register your cat. You should be registering your cat. There are still stray cats. I mean, people let their cats out, cats are missing. We see it in our town group. Whose cat is this? Is this someone cat? Then is someone saying it's my cat? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's the number, the bulk number. I mean, I know you, I mean, a lot of some people register their dog just because they want to travel with them. Other than that, they're not registering their dog. So I don't know if we just need to put that out there.
So Borough Clerk, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am.
How many cat licenses do we issue a year?
Probably no more than 25 or 30. And you have to buy at least 200 metal tags, and it costs us more to purchase the tags than the licenses we sell, which are only $5.
Okay, I see two hands from council people up. Council President Phil George, you're up next.
As part of the license, do you have to present a certification that the animals are properly vaccinated for the year?
Yes.
Councilman Hale, you have a hand up?
I just wanted to say that it seems to me that the notification about missing cats happens on social media today in a way that maybe it didn't when this was originally there, so that the issue about we have other mechanisms, as Councilwoman Canavera said, other mechanisms for finding missing and cats and returning them. So I'd be in favor of eliminating this.
Okay, and Councilwoman Kim Cho-han, is your hand up?
Is it the same price as dogs?
No. Dogs are, spayed or neutered dogs are $10. If they're not, it's $13.
So it's double for the dogs, and you have to
Well,
buy.
most of your licensing, we keep a certain portion of the fee, and then you have to send a fee to the state of New Jersey for the dogs.
Oh, but not for the
Not for cats. Mm-mm.
So I'm curious, do you know, Joan, why the state of New Jersey doesn't think it needs to keep a record of cats and we do?
That I do not know. When I first started, they were only licensing dogs. Somewhere along the way, as Councilwoman Foster said, they started and they added the ordinance, and I don't have my ordinance book in front of me. They added the part about licensing cats. And it started out, when people first started licensing cats, it started out, you had well over 100 or more. And then it's dwindled down to like 25, 30, and it costs way more for the tags. And we send out the notices and people just don't notice their cats. And we know that people don't always, license their dogs, but the notification is put out. We send out the renewals and we post it that it's time to license your pet.
Right. I remember seeing those. Councilman Hirsch, is your hand up?
Yes, Mayor. This is really not my issue, so thank you, Councilwoman Canavera, for bringing it up. I'm just wondering if resident, I agree with Councilwoman Kim Cho-han that maybe residents just didn't know to have their cats registered. And the only upside I would say to having a registry for cats is that a lot of folks, do have outdoor cats that kind of roam around and come inside at night. That potentially causes a whole host of other environmental problems that I won't get into. But I'm just wondering if public safety does think that it would at least help recover missing pets, particularly outdoor cats that are not indoors most of the time.
We would not have put something in place if we thought it didn't help.
Yeah, right. It just sounds like it might still be useful, but obviously we're losing money, so that's another issue.
So when I was the council person, it was the Board of Health that dealt with animal issues. So Tara, can you just crystallize the Board of Health's thinking?
The Board of Health felt that it wasn't necessary. They voted that, they didn't see a reason for them to still need to be registered, that we have a lot of people that are part of rescues here in town. We have rescues here in town, and that they felt since we were losing money, there wasn't a big need anymore and that we should do away with it.
Right, so I just want to try to get a sense from council. Do we want to change the ordinance as suggested by the Board of Health? I don't want us to do work on something if we're not gonna go for it. Matt, you're saying you think it's a good idea. Hale?
Yeah, I trust the judgment of the Board of Health and the judgment of Councilwoman Canavera. So fine with me.
I agree.
Okay.
I just worry, I do worry about the kind of deregulation and lawlessness of feline ownership. Seriously, it's like there's no you don't have to have your cat on a leash. You don't have to have it registered. And I do worry that, I am concerned about, this is not something that I would normally raise in public, but I do have concerns about outdoor cats and the effects on our ecosystem, for example. So I would like to hear a little bit more, maybe.
But even if a cat is
that can be on
licensed, we
email.
can't keep them out from being outside. So what's the license have to do with the environment? Like, I agree with you. I think it's horrible on our environment when you let your cats outside. However, a license isn't going to stop that.
I guess if they're, if they're lost, that could potentially help folks, help folks find them or help people recover their animals if they're lost and outside, leashless.
Well,
Terry, you
say
have
I
your
had
hand
2
up.
cats get
I
out
just let-
and
sorry.
lost, and they were found by people in town, and they did not have a license because I did not know that we needed one.
Terry?
I was just gonna say that it only helps with finding them if they're wearing the tag. And so if the homeowners don't put them on, they could also put on just their own tag, if they're worried about their cats getting lost. So again, yeah, so I just throw that in as an indoor cat person, so I'll
And
just. let you
also,
know.
most cat. Sorry, Stephanie.
Oh, sorry. No, you can go ahead. I thought they were chipped. I just thought some of them.
No, it's
chipped.
some cats are chipped. Mine are chipped, but however, even if they do have a license on their collar, most of us cat owners have collars that are breakable, because if they do get out and they get caught on something, they could strangle. So we're advised by vets to have the ones that pull apart. So a lot of times when a cat does get out, they don't have their registration on them anyway.
As a dog owner, I think cat owners should have the same responsibility as I have. It's bad enough the license is double for me. We got to push it should be out there. I think I've seen more items, the rabies clinic shot we do is there. I mean, I don't know. It's equal.
So what
I
I'd like
agree.
to do is, Tara, could you go back to the Board of Health and review with them some of the comments from the council, and find out from them, how critical they feel it is that we do away with the licenses, and if they feel very strongly, we can invite them to come and talk to council.
Okay.
All right. Next subject is snow removal plan, Phil George.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'd like to thank Borough Administrator Terry Hover, Mike Wiskorix from Superintendent of DPW, and Council Members Canavera and Hirsch. The rough draft of the operating portion of the manual is put together and is under review. There it lays out policies and procedures, some of which were followed and some of which were the result of our meeting and discussing and actually getting DPW to focus on procedures once we had the terrible snowstorm in February. So we'll be circulating that when with a little more work on the final draft. It's basically editing at this point. It also has 2 addenda which relate more to, they're actually appendices which relate to proper mixture of brine, the proper ratios to put the brine together. So they're rather technical to highlight the points of it's essentially it's an operating manual on how snow goes forward. It's broken down into depth of snow that activates the snow program, 2 inches, beginning the process to get the crews, bring in some crews to start working on primary and secondary roads. It prioritizes removal. Then it goes to the 4 inches and above, where the snow begins to accumulate, lays out the brining procedure and the benefits of the brining. But the particular portion that was added in was the clearing the intersections. As you know, we've had a couple of the really larger snows, and I think the rainy season this year gives us an indication of what we might have. And the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be bad. The huge piles of snow at the intersections, especially in the along Raritan, Woodbridge, and Route 27, really were excessive and stayed and they stay forever. So DPW has added them to the list for attendance if they happen to be obstructions to vision and travel. And in fact, many of them were this year as opposed to other times. So we're looking at doing that. And we're going to circulate that. I'm doing a little my own review and organization. Terry's looking at it. Emma is taking a break because she put it together. So we'll circulate that around very shortly. But the council members, along with Terry, discussed certain policy decisions that we may or may not have to make. We don't always need to make them. And one of the big issues is, of course, we had this record snow, which really changed a lot of perceptions. But some of the problems have been there, like cleaning out the access on the corners along Raritan and Woodbridge, so that people can safely walk through the corners. They tend to get a beaten path 1 footprint wide, and it's just a terror. They were so bad, I went out and shoveled them, and I need at the time I needed hip replacement surgery. They were so bad. One of the questions was, does DPW get involved in that? And 2, if we're going to get involved in that, the sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner. And that doesn't matter where the sidewalk is or what it is. But if, for whatever the reason, it's not cleared within a reasonable time, a policy decision to be discussed is whether we then, when we have time and staff to do it, remove them to make the area safer, but charge back the landowner at that particular point. That's a policy decision we have to talk about. It's been done on, in some occasions, and the question is, do we make it a policy? Another policy, which is really more of a DPW policy, is the snow was so bad and lasted so long that many streets were hard pressed to be able to shovel the snow out to make parking spaces, and then people carved out their own spaces, and that was it. So the staff actually got a couple of the smaller payloaders and then and land movers, and went out and cruised some of the streets, and where it was clear enough to safely do it, actually shoveled the snow up onto the verge to help clear the streets out a little bit. So that's, this question whether that could be recommended as a policy. But yeah, other than that, when we circulate, you'll see it's a very well planned out manual to show the procedures and the priorities for snow removal. So it's just an announcement that it is done, that the committee did its work, and that you'll be getting a draft as soon as the final edits are done. But because it's October, that's only 2 more months to the potential snow season. And we've had snow in October before. So we wanted to make sure that we let you know that it is on the way as soon as the final edits are done. But the policy decisions that we talked about in Public Works are ones that we'll probably need to address between now and December.
Matt Hale, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to I thank the committee very much and thank Terry and Mike at DPW for taking the seriously and a hard look at it. And I look forward to reading the final report. But I wanted to say that you have taken it seriously and you took what happened last time to heart, and have I think that's an important step, and I think that's a great thing to do. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for doing that.
Thanks. The committee, the council members, Hirsch and Kanemayer, put a lot of work in.
Absolutely. Thanks to all of you.
Okay, Councilwoman Foster, you have your hand up.
In taking a look at, I know we haven't read it yet, but I was curious to know if you guys have looked at alternate routes where to put the snow. And, you know, if we have the weather is not getting better, it's getting worse. So was there other areas that were looked at where snow could be put in the borough?
One of the things that we unfortunately learned of the places that we can't put it more than we learned about places that we could. We can't put it in the river. We can't put it in the parks. I talked with Rick Lear, had a long conversation several times with him about what possibilities we have, including we were talking about alternate parking for people to be able to move their cars so we could do a street. We found that the system, other than small one-shot deals where we had to clear something for construction or emergency or something, might not be workable. But the thought was that if we can work out a system where, and again, it's not always a major problem. You know, you have 6 or 8 inches of snow, it's an inconvenience, but it doesn't last very long and it's easier to shovel, as opposed to 18 inches where it's basically gonna block the street for 2 or 3 weeks because it's gonna freeze up. Was to use our equipment to move it off, push it straight off the street and up onto the verge. Basically, that's maybe the only alternative that we can come up with. So they're looking at some places to see, I don't know, possibly the commercial spaces, that they pile their snow up in one spot, and it takes, if you recall, Stop and Shop and Rite Aid, they lost probably a third to almost a half of their parking space just storing snow. And so it's very, very difficult. Some towns were caught dumping it into various and sundry rivers, and because it has chemicals in it and road debris and road oils, they're not allowed to do that. So to say that we found places to put extraordinary snow like that, the answer is no. On the lesser storms, it may be much more possible to be able to, again, and this would be secondary, this would be post 24 hours after primary, secondary, and then residential streets are done, and the public sidewalks are done, to be able to go around and possibly move it, was the main alternative that Mike was talking about.
Phil, we're not the only town that's going through all of this that are walkable towns. Have you had a chance to look into what towns like Maplewood or Cranford are doing as far as their snow removal?
As far as their plans in general, the ones I'm familiar with, not familiar with all of those specifically, but a few others in that area, Linden, some other towns, they have their own public parks. So as far as, and the big issue seems to be the storage of large amounts of snow, so that they have public parks where they can, the parks are closed. They can use the parking lots to store it so that they're on a impervious surface because of the potential of contaminants in the snow that's removed from the roads. Unfortunately, we kind of don't have that luxury by and large. So we have to look at alternatives. I know some of the cities, larger cities, which have larger problems with snow, are piling them up in public parks.
Yeah. Just thinking about towns that are similar to us in terms of size, like Metuchen, what are they doing?
I know Linden and Madison used public parking lots for, large deposits of snow, because I remember in both of them, the snow being stacked up. But again, the thought is to, at least a little bit that I've seen that's, floating around in some of the public works type work websites, is that the issue is the snow actually has contaminants, starting with the salt that's put on the road or sand. And also it's the salt, the sand, and the snow themselves pick up benzene products from the road, starting with the road, surface itself, and then going dripping gasoline and dripping oil, which are stormwater runoff issues. And then snow is no different.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, just because I know Mike from Public Works did work on this quite a bit. He did phone around to some other communities. I think Metuchen was one, but it's been a while since we did the first draft, so I couldn't swear. And we were learning about that. And just to piggyback on what Phil was saying, in some cases, if you move it a certain distance, you actually need a special permit from DEP, I believe, depending on the quantities and how much you're moving. So it's not to say it's not possible, but it's not as simple as just pick it up and scoop it and leave it somewhere else. It's a little bit to think about. So I don't think we've given up on that part of it, but at least what we have here is a very clear plan of what happens when, because I heard there was a lot of confusion and concern about what our strict, and we can always learn from our experiences and refine it further. And so we will share that pretty soon. And Phil, actually, I had intended, I have to confess, to share the draft with this agenda, and I just forgot to upload it. So I do apologize, because I think I think it's pretty much ready to share from a substance standpoint. So we will do that after this meeting, so the rest of council beyond Public Works has a chance.
Yeah, and as you start looking at different places where you might be able to accumulate the snow, maybe open up your minds to thinking about some of the properties that we've recently acquired or are acquiring, if that would work as a storage space, if we can't use things that are closer to the river.
And just to follow up on that, to move on from that, the last recommendation was as to capital equipment. We know that we're short on DPW workers, and one of the other issues is the plow dryers have to have their CDLs.
Right.
And the state does the training. I've seen the courses are online. They offer, I think they'll probably be offering a couple of them in proper snow removal, and they actually, some of it actually now addresses some of the more modern issues of where do you put it. The old way used to just push it off the road, was equipment. And the thought from DPW was that we really don't need any more of the large equipment, like the Mason box dump trucks, which we now prefer the smaller dump trucks with the lower sides. Another Kubota, because they're four-season and multifunctional, but they fit into areas where the trucks don't fit. They're suitable for our public sidewalks. And Mike and I also looked, and Mike sent them around to Terry and I There are basically they look like glorified riding mowers with plows on the front where they're actually stand on, so that they relieve they relieve people of actually manually shoveling snow. When you go out and shovel your car off, remember DPW is going out and doing that everywhere, not just driving the trucks around and getting coffee. But Mike noted, and I saw them being used in a number of towns. They're riding machines. Some of them, they actually like commercial lawnmowers where they're standing on it. And one actually had tires which you could replace with treads with narrow 4-foot blades which fit the sidewalks. And they would just run in one shot and clear our public sidewalks. And we have a lot of public sidewalks. We have to do the library and the schools and all our public spaces as well. It was noted that one man can go out and do that, whereas, we may have to have 2 or 3 on a crew to go out doing it, and manually shoveling, which just takes man hours. That would the investment of these machines, which are lighter. The Kubotas are now about 45 or so. Well, I think we got our first one was 37 equipped. And that's what we use to do our side of the Raritan. And although it was really bad this year, it's very difficult in that big storm. So that was the second recommendation, is to look at least 2 pieces of equipment, which really are relatively inexpensive. But number one, save man hours. Number 2, the Kubota's 4-season usable, and probably a more practical approach to taking care of snow problems than getting one more big machine that needs a driver and has to be maintained and all that. But that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, so you'll be putting together that snow removal plan. I'd like to see it
Yeah,
too.
as Terry said, it's basically done. It is done. It's in editing. I looked at the draft. There's a couple of questions to fill in here and there, just general editing, literally. And that's it.
Okay. All right, then we have Phil, tree planting recommendations.
Yeah, it's been under discussion for a number of years. As you know, there's a tree planting program. We have a tree stockist that we go out. Generally, it's the New Jersey Tree Foundation who supplies them. And then DPW plants them. Stack has been taking a more active role in planting. We switched last year, excuse me, to a zoned planting plan, meaning we just pick one part of town instead of spreading out all over. And then Raritan is a separate project. You saw this year, we actually did arborist maintenance on the streets along Main Street, Raritan Avenue. But the recommendation is to begin to limit the planting program to once a year. It was usually twice a year, a spring and a fall. Once a year seems to be enough for several reasons. Number one, we would get 100 or more trees. We wouldn't get them all in on the verge. We wouldn't get them all in locations, and we would lose a lot. You'd see them stored down at the DPW or stored down at sometimes at the Native Plant Preserve, and we just didn't use them all. Number two, the manpower investment to especially a spring plant. Spring is when DPW starts to get busy. In the fall, it's a little bit easier because the maintenance is a little bit less. So it's felt that just one, and and it's leaning towards the fall, but it's not really sure yet. But it's just definitely to limit it to one planting season. And third, to limit the planting to 50 or 60 trees, which is basically, it's about half of the load. Number one, we get to the trees that we can maintain and get them in a little bit quicker, because it eats up man hours like crazy. But number two, we're more capable. You remember we had the watering contract because of the season. We took more water, so they have to be cared. And technically, if you get one in front, of your house. You're supposed to care for it and water it and all, but it doesn't always get done. Fortunately, it was a reasonably good growing season, except in that block in August. So it wasn't too bad. But the other big piece to this is more outreach to residents, and make it basically an opt-in plan. Start advertising it, doing much more social notice, Facebook and so on, getting it out on Environmental Commission, Sustainable Highland Park, STAC, websites as well as Nixle and so on. And Emma in particular was good in suggesting that, we do 3 or 4 rounds of do you want a tree rather than just one, to get the applications in so people say, yes, I want one. The species are generally selected to be survivable, number one, and to be deep roots, as straight down tap roots like oaks and some of the other natural plantings, so that there is little to no risk to the sidewalks anymore with the plantings. But this way people can, see what the trees are on the websites, get information by going and looking at them online. Because we had the samples up last year. It was the first year we did it. Was very, very successful. You were able to click on, climbing myrtle or whatever it would be and see what it looks like. And this way, once they follow up, and one of the problems that we had with so many trees being planted, and the issue of going and putting them in front of your house, and suddenly you wake up and DPW is putting an oak in front of your house. There's people saying I don't want them, and this is the traditional argument that Ed'll tell you about, is who has the right to plant in the verge, who controls it. It's always a wonderful issue. This way, with an opt-in, we minimize that. We'll still maybe have some, because every year we do have a couple of people say, I don't want it there. And they had asked for it in the first place. After this system of following up 2, 3, 4 times to say, okay, it's coming, are you ready? And people say, no, I don't, at the last minute, not able to say, no, I don't want it. You asked for it, that's the way it is. Although there are sometimes incidents where they can't be planted. Either there's a line going through there, or the sidewalk is already at risk, or the curb is crumbled, or whatever the reason, that the tree does have to be relocated. It's not wasted. And we pay good money for these trees, even through the tree foundation. So those are the recommendations for the project, or for the policy going forward. An outline of it is written up, which I'll circulate if you want to go forward with a policy that streamlines the tree planting going forward. And the reason it now is because we have to start planning for 2022.
Right. And I'm assuming STAC was involved in this plan.
Yes, very much so. In fact, Terry and Emma were constantly monitoring it, and Emma and I were I would have to say, working on this for a good 8 months, in the process of monitoring, going to the STAC meetings, listening to the comments and the problems generally. And I can tell you that going back 4 years with STAC, we had the problems, and they can't say they were increasing in the management of it. It's just that we're running into the problems with the trees not being able to get planted, or the trees dying because there are too many that couldn't be maintained. And then putting all the problems together, we said it's a good time to look at a new policy, and Emma was doing constant monitoring on it with Terry, put in a lot of work, and we actually followed this for the last 6 or 8 months to come up with a recommendation.
Okay. All right, then the next on this, this is the Phil George show tonight.
No, this is the Phil George is feeling much better now that he can actually walk around. And these are matters that came up over the summer, and some of the boards, that they didn't have a quorum, or so on and so forth, and moving them forward. these are two resolutions recommended by Sustainable Highland Park. One is in opposition to the gasification plant in Keesby. We are in the air plume for it. There was another one in Woodbridge, a very similar plant that we considered. I don't believe we voted in favor of that to move it forward. I don't know that it came up for a vote and was turned down. I think it did not go forward. Sustainable Highland Park is recommending, as are other towns that look at opposing it. It is another town's business, but we are in the plume and we all have to look at that. So this opposes the application for the gasification plant in Keesby. The second one is a divestment resolution recommending that the borough pass a resolution urging the state pension funds, primarily police and fire employees retirement and public employee retirement system, to divest themselves of any stock or holdings in funds or stocks related to fossil fuels, manufacture, retail, sales, wholesale. Well, after Sustainable Highland Park brought it up, I took it also to the other committees to take a look at. Environmental Commission at its last meeting recommended that it be amended to not just be negative saying don't invest in these funds, but to add a positive saying, and why don't you put that money into good, sustainable, renewable resources? Sustainable Highland Park did make that. So the recommendation by Sustainable Highland Park is to bring these forward for a vote on resolution.
Okay. Any council members have any questions or thoughts on that? Elsie?
In my neighborhood, doing the paving and milling down and doing some sidewalk repairs, there were at least, I would say, about 7 trees that were taken down, and these were mature trees. And I know the Shade Tree Commission has a policy of in the time trees are taken down, they have to be a replacement. Will there be a replacement of the trees that were taken down? And that's one. And do you have to have the homeowner's agreement to replace those trees?
Actually, the ones that were removed in this year's paving program, there were, I think there were 10 all around town. And it brings up another problem as well. They weren't specifically addressed. Going forward, they would be part of the replacement plan under the new policy. They would be replaced. These are in the middle because, but I know that Stack wants to replace them. It's a question of, again, just rolling them into the program. DPW knows where the locations are, and
So we will replace those trees.
Mayor, yeah,
I'm not positive. These ones from this project, I don't know. It'd be the DPW and administration. Stack would like them replaced.
So Terry,
I guess I guess I want to go back. I guess we went back to the tree program. I guess one clarification I just wanted to make is we would still be looking at a zoned program scaled back with numbers. What I think, I just want to make it clear because I could see if you're not really into the weeds on this, Stack still will have an assertive program identifying locations such as the ones LC has pointed out. However, we will do continuous outreach up to the planting, up to a couple weeks before the planting. If the current policy, just to be real clear, if a resident within our time frame to object to a tree makes an objection, it has been the guidance of council previously that we will honor the request not to plant a tree. The difference in this policy is what we're saying is if we give people ample time and notice before we reinstall a tree or put a new one if there wasn't one there before, well, we will, if we give them the notice, we're going to proceed, because what was happening was we were getting game day, planting day, I don't want this tree here. And then we had picked that tree for that location. and we were hustling to try to find alternative locations for it. So we're trying to find kind of a balance between resident preference, because also there is a direct correlation to if they don't want the tree there and they really don't want it there, the tree somehow doesn't make it at the end of the day. So we're trying to, I think the resources are there to put trees back, Elsie, to your question, and certainly whether or not they're going to be in exactly the same locations is a question. And sometimes we have to wait because we have to allow a stump to disintegrate enough before it's safe to put a new tree back. But we are going to reach out to the property owner most near that tree to give them an opportunity to opt out of that being there. But I think the intent is to try to replace as much as we can where we have to remove, as near as where it was removed from, recognizing that tension with the individual residents. So I hope that makes sense. I know that's what Phil said, but I just thought I'd try to put that situation. So let's, for instance, if one was in your yard, sounds like you want one back, and the answer would be absolutely, we will. It may not be next year's planting, just to be real clear, because there may be some backlog of, we're always about a year ahead, but certainly that would be the intention to replace them.
Okay. Matt Hirsch.
Mayor, I'm sorry for prolonging this. Kind of tangentially, Council President, thank you so much well, first, thank you so much for all of your work and leadership on the snow removal program too. With tree planting recommendations, I'm just wondering, I've seen a lot of tree, I've seen the tree, I've seen DPW and the contractor out, handling some trees that need to be removed. And I'm just wondering, is it their practice when they can to leave up a certain amount of stump for natural habitat? Does Sustainable Highland Park have a position on that for birds and squirrels?
I haven't really heard a specific discussion either on Sustainable Highland Park or with STAC. Where we've had discussions with it is in the Meadows Trail and the Native Plant Sanctuary for those areas, more with the understory, which is the smaller trees underneath the large trees. And the answer is yes, because it provides the bracken, provides shelter for rabbits and possum and so on and so forth, as well as non-migrating birds. There is no policy of leaving the trees, and basically you're dead or partially dead trees, mainly because the ones we're dealing with are street trees, and they present a significant risk to pedestrians and cars. We, believe it or not, we have at least 1 or 2 cars a year get damaged by our street trees.
Yeah.
And there was a large sycamore that fell over on South First.
Harbor?
First, yeah. On South First.
Oh, right.
Smashed a car twice.
Yeah.
Was fixed once and then smashed it again. It totaled it.
Yeah.
So that they really need to be removed. The natural habitat, which is a large trend now, is trending forward on leaving the bracken, is being done in Meadows Trail and the Native Plant Sanctuary.
Thank you.
Terry, did you want to add to that?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say one thing, because I know I hear it from residents a lot, although we only have 3 of them on the meeting at this point. But just so everybody's aware, sometimes we get questions about why we left the stick, after we remove a tree. And I didn't know if that's where you're going, Matt, or not. Sometimes it's because of we have to remove the immediate hazard when we become aware of the fact that we have a dead tree or precarious branches. So what they do first thing is get rid of the branches that are posing the hazard, because most often the stump is pretty stable as long as the branches are. So I just wanted to say, if you see some there, it may have been because we went through and we were focused, especially during storm seasons and things like that, on removing the hazard component of the tree. the intent is to go back. I will say we're not perfect. I know of a few that have been there for a long time, which may have become the habitat you're referring to, but that is not the policy. The intention is to go back, but sometimes we have funding issues at the end of the year and we have to keep some there for the immediate hazards. But that's why if you see they call it the stick. The stick is that basically removing that hazardous component in the first run, but the intention is to come back, remove the stump. Come back, remove the stick, and then eventually grind the stump if necessary. So that's the stages of tree removal I've learned.
I totally get it. No, I was, and I, if
I know I
if
hear
were
that,
being
so I
left
thought
up
I'd
for-
take a chance at explaining it because I know it comes up a
Yeah.
lot.
If the stick were being left up for ecological purposes.
I wish I had that answer.
I would
should've
support
said
that
so.
too.
I
So,
should have said so. Yes, that's our ecology program.
yeah.
Okay. Phil, do you have anything else on your two resolutions?
No, that's all.
All right. We're not going to have an executive session, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone. Thank
Good
you
night,
all.
everyone. By the way, Joan, it's 3-0 Red Sox.
No.
Yep.
I heard, I'm aware, I'm watching
I'm a
it.
Mets fan. Who am I supposed to root for in a
Red Sox.
Yankees?
Yankees.
Red
Oh,
Sox.
Yankees.
Yankees, a New York local team.
I'm rooting for the Brewers. Brewers.
Mayor, permission to end meeting.
Yes.
There you go, right there, right there. See?